Welcome to Daily Ease, a little corner of calm where we invite you to find peace in your everyday life. Because we believe that stillness is also a form of growth. Let's slow down and talk gently about living with a softer, kinder rhythm. We all know how to sleep. We all know how to sit. We all know how to lie down. But we don't really know how to rest. And I'm not talking about exhaustion. I'm not talking about burnout. I'm talking about something more subtle, something that happens to most of us, especially after 35. Most adults today carry a silent panic inside their bodies. It's not pain, it's not exhaustion, it's the fear of being unproductive. So when we take a break, we don't rest, we scroll, we compare, we plan the next thing, we feel guilty. We are not resting. We are performing rest for the algorithm. Let me ask you something honestly. When was the last time you rested without checking your phone even once? When was the last time you let your mind wander? Not because you were bored, but because wandering is actually good for the brain. When was the last time you sat with no input, no stimulation, no duty, no role, just your breathing, just your pulse, just yourself? If you're struggling to remember, you're not alone. According to neuroscience research, our brains need what's called wakeful rest, moments where we're conscious but not actively processing information. Studies from the University of Edinburgh show that during these moments, our brain consolidates memories, solves problems we weren't actively thinking about, and literally repairs itself at a cellular level. But here's the problem. Most adults haven't experienced true wakeful rest in years. We've been trained for decades to be useful. Every school system rewarded productivity. Every workplace rewarded output. Every modern platform rewards engagement. Nobody rewards rest. And this is why the guilt is so sticky. When you take a break, you don't feel relief. You feel like you're stealing time. You feel like you owe the world an explanation. Because in your internal language, rest means I stopped being valuable. But what if I told you that's completely backwards? Rest is not the opposite of value. Rest is the resource that value comes from. Think about it this way. Your phone doesn't feel guilty when it charges. Your car doesn't apologize for needing fuel. A field doesn't feel ashamed for lying fallow between harvests. But somehow, we've convinced ourselves that needing rest makes us weak. Let me offer you a different framework, a reframe that changed everything for me. You are not resting after you finish. You are resting so you can finish. You don't rest because you are weak. You rest so your strength can refill. You don't rest because you're lazy. You rest so your energy becomes usable again. Rest is not a reward for output. Rest is part of the input. This changes everything. Because once you understand that rest is fuel, not failure, you stop treating it like a luxury. You start treating it like maintenance, like survival, like the most practical thing you could possibly do. Now, I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine a plant that refuses to absorb water because it feels guilty that it's not producing enough leaves. Imagine that plant looking at other plants and thinking, they're growing faster than me. I should skip water today and just focus on photosynthesis. Sounds absurd, right? That is us. We shame ourselves for doing exactly what keeps us alive. We punish ourselves for pausing. We think stopping is dangerous, but what if the most dangerous thing is never stopping? Here's what the research shows. Chronic stress without adequate rest doesn't just make you tired, it rewires your brain. Harvard Medical School found that prolonged stress actually shrinks the hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for memory and emotional regulation. Meanwhile, the amygdala, your fear center, gets bigger and more reactive. In other words, not resting doesn't just make you tired, it literally changes who you are. There's a wisdom that shows up around the age of 35. It whispers like this: your work is no longer just about output. Your work now is also about how you exist, your presence, your authenticity, your self-respect. And if you show up exhausted, you show up less. Rest makes you more present. Rest makes you warmer. Rest makes you more able to respond instead of react. Rest makes you a better friend because you actually have the bandwidth to listen instead of just waiting for your turn to talk. Rest makes you a better parent because you can meet your child's tantrum with patience instead of your own exhaustion. Rest makes you a better partner because you have something left to give at the end of the day. Rest makes you a better human, not because rest makes you more productive, but because rest makes you more you. So today, I want to invite you to practice a new kind of rest. Not rest to become more productive, not rest to make more money later, not rest to work harder tomorrow. Rest today to become you again. Because the part of you that makes your life worth living needs space. Your nervous system needs boredom to reset. Your creativity needs slowness to make unexpected connections. Your emotions need pauses to actually land, to be felt, to move through you instead of piling up inside like unopened mail. Rest is not a break from life. Rest is how life digests experience. It's how meaning gets made. It's how you remember who you are beneath all the roles you play. Now, some of you might be thinking, 7 minutes? That's it? That won't solve my problems. You're right. 7 minutes won't solve your problems. But 7 minutes will give you access to the part of yourself that knows how to solve problems. Because that part of you, the wise, calm, creative part, doesn't show up when you're running on empty. It shows up when there's space. And space is what rest creates. Dr. Mary Helen Immerdino-Yang, a neuroscientist at USC, discovered something fascinating. The brain's default mode network, the part responsible for creativity, self-reflection, and meaning-making, only activates when we're not focused on external tasks. In other words, your best ideas don't come when you're trying. They come when you're resting. Your deepest insights don't arrive during the hustle. They arrive during the pause. Now, some of you might be thinking, 7 minutes? That's it? That won't solve my problems. You're right. 7 minutes won't solve your problems. But 7 minutes will give you access to the part of yourself that knows how to solve problems. Because that part of you, the wise, calm, creative part, doesn't show up when you're running on empty. It shows up when there's space. And space is what rest creates. Dr. Mary Helen Immerdino-Yang, a neuroscientist at USC, discovered something fascinating. The brain's default mode network, the part responsible for creativity, self-reflection, and meaning-making, only activates when we're not focused on external tasks. In other words, your best ideas don't come when you're trying. They come when you're resting. Your deepest insights don't arrive during the hustle. They arrive during the pause. So I'll leave you with this. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to exist without proving anything. Not because you've earned it, not because you've checked enough boxes, not because you've been productive enough to deserve a break. You're allowed to rest because you are not a machine. You are a human being. And rest is not a luxury for human beings. Rest is maintenance. Rest is survival. Rest is how you stay human in a world that wants to turn you into a productivity unit. So take your 7 minutes. And if 7 minutes feels impossible, take 3. And if 3 feels like too much, take 1. 1 minute of doing nothing except being alive. That's not laziness, that's resistance. That's you remembering that your worth is not measured by your output. That's you coming home to yourself. And maybe, just maybe, that's the most productive thing you could do today.